Next game, Seahawks, Bucks, 9:30 a.m. Eastern kickoff in Munich, Germany. Tampa Bay is -3, totals 44, and even though the Bucks are favored, they failed to cover the point spread in their last 7 straight. Now, the Bucks have also done very little to establish the run game. They're gaining fewer yards per contest on the ground than any other team in the league. They're facing a Seattle team who's scoring 27 points a game, and they rank in the top 10 in running the football. When it comes to covering the point spread, the Seahawks are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6. Now, Goodwin and Taylor are questionable for Seattle. Meanwhile, for Tampa Bay, Brate, Gage, and Winfield are questionable for them. Tampa Bay saw overs against Baltimore and Kansas City. Meanwhile, Seattle's 5-2 to the over in their last 7. I'm going to lean towards Seattle +3 over 44. Next ball game, Lions, Bears, 1 o'clock East. Chicago's -3, totals 48. And even though they are favored, the Bears lost 5 out of their last 6. And they're terrible at throwing the football. Chicago's throwing for a league worst 125 yards a game. Meanwhile, defensively, the Chicago D's allowing nearly 150 yards a game on the ground. Now, Detroit's in the top 10 in rushing, top 10 in passing. They also covered against the likes of Green Bay, Minnesota, and Philadelphia. Now, injury-wise, Reynolds, Nelson, Melifonwu, Parker, Joseph, Lucas, and Rodriguez are questionable. When it comes to the weather, cold and breezy at kickoff, 37 degrees and 10-mile-an-hour wind, most likely at game time. Now, when it comes to the total, the Bears saw 5 out of their last 7 get over the number. Meanwhile, Detroit went 4-3 to the over in their last 7 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Detroit +3 over 48. Next matchup, it is going to be Jaguars at the Chiefs, 1 o'clock Eastern start time. Kansas City's -9.5, totals 50. And even though KC should be favored in this one, they haven't been great against the number this year. They failed to cover in 5 out of their last 7, and their D's giving up 24 points a game. When it comes to defending the pass, the Chiefs currently have a bottom 10 pass defense. They're taking on a Jacksonville team who does a nice job moving the chains themselves. They're in the top 10 in total yards per contest. Meanwhile, defensively on the other side of the ball, the Jags have one of the best rush defenses in the AFC, so don't look for Kansas City to run the ball much. Now, injury-wise, Ingram and Jenkins are questionable for Jacksonville. Meanwhile, for the Chiefs, Hardman and Fortson are questionable for them. Now, weather-wise, crisp and cool in Kansas City on Sunday. 39 degrees by kickoff with a slight breeze. 3 out of KC's last 5 did get over the line. Meanwhile, Jacksonville saw overs against Indy, Philadelphia, and the Chargers. Give me Jacksonville +9.5 over 50. Next game, Saints, Steelers, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff. New Orleans is -2 in the Steel City, totals 40.5. And even though the Saints are struggling to get wins, it ain't for a lack of offense. These guys are in the top 10 in passing, and they're gaining over 375 total yards per game. They're facing a Pittsburgh D who's second to last in the league in stopping the pass. When it comes to offensive production, these guys are averaging only 15 points a game. Now, injury-wise, Jackson, Watt, Witherspoon, Jack, Boswell, and Kuntz, they're all listed as questionable. Meanwhile, for New Orleans on the other side, Landry and Lattimore are questionable for them. When it comes to the weather, mostly sunny and 41 degrees at kickoff. When it comes to the total, Pittsburgh saw overs against Philadelphia, the Jets, and Cleveland. Meanwhile, New Orleans went 4-2 to the over in their last 6. I'm going to lean toward the Saints -2 over 40.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Browns at the Dolphins, 1 o'clock Eastern start time. Miami's -3 at home, totals 48. And even though Miami's favored, they've been horrible against the point spread here lately. They failed to cover in 5 out of their last 6. They're also giving up 25 points a game, and they're in the bottom 10 in total yards allowed. They're facing a Browns team on the other side who's scoring 25 points a game themselves, and they have a top 3 rushing offense. When it comes to covering, the Browns covered against the likes of Cincy, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. Now, injury-wise, Ward, Teller, and Owusu-Koramoah, they're questionable for the Browns. Meanwhile, for the Finns, Austin Jackson is listed as questionable for them. Now, weather-wise, 81 degrees, hot and sunny in South Florida on Sunday. When it comes to the total, 3 out of Miami's last 5 did get over the line. Meanwhile, Cleveland's 75% to the over for the year. I'm going to lean toward Cleveland +3 over 48. The next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Vikings at the Bills, 1 o'clock Eastern start time. Buffalo's the 3-point favorite at home, totals 43. And even though the Bills are coming off a tough loss, they still have the top offense in the land. These guys are gaining a league best 416 total yards a game. And when it comes to defensive play, the Bills are allowing fewer points a game than any other club in the league. And I know what you're going to say. Josh Allen's hurt. He's got that bad elbow. One, I think they're going to shoot him up, and I think he's going to play. And number two, even if he doesn't, this Bills defense is good enough to keep these guys in the game. All right, now, they're facing a Minnesota team who's not committed to the run. The Vikes are in the bottom 10 in rush yards per contest. Meanwhile, defensively, Minnesota's got one of the worst pass defenses in the NFC. Now, injury-wise, Tomlinson, Dantzler, and Naylor are questionable. Meanwhile, for Buffalo, Poyer, White, Milano, Allen, Brown, and Elam are questionable for them. When it comes to the weather, cold and windy in upstate New York on Sunday. 16-mile-an-hour possible winds by kickoff. When it comes to total, Buffalo saw all of their games this year stay under the line except for one. Meanwhile, Minnesota saw unders against Washington, Miami, and Philadelphia. I'm going to lean toward Buffalo -3, under 43. How many people are going to say in the comments that Josh Allen's questionable? You know, guys that don't watch the video, they just go right to the week recap. I'm going to say at least 2. Anyway, next game, Broncos, Titans, 1 o'clock East. Tennessee's the 3-point favorite, totals 38. But despite being favored at home here, the Titans are gaining fewer yards a game than any other team in football. Meanwhile, defensively, these guys have one of the worst secondaries in the league. They're facing a Denver squad who plays some incredibly tough defense themselves. As a matter of fact, these guys are allowing just 16 points a game, and they're leading the league in pass defense. Now, injury-wise, Fleming, Cleveland, Bassey, Browning, and Stearns are questionable. Meanwhile, for the Titans, Tannehill, Hooker, Carter, they're questionable for them. When it comes to the weather, sunny and mild on Sunday in Nashville. Should be a nice day. Now, total-wise, the Titans saw their last 5 straight stay under the line. Meanwhile, Denver saw all of their games this year stay under the total except for one. I'm going to lean toward the Broncos +3, under 38. That's the Denver Broncos +3, under 38. And with that, we're going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. It is going to be Texans at the Giants, 1 o'clock Eastern start time. The New York Football Giants are -4.5 at home, totals 40. Now, the G-men are allowing only 19 points a game on defense. Meanwhile, offensively, they're rushing for over 160 yards a game. They're taking on the worst rushing defense in the league in Houston. The Texans are allowing a league-worst 181 yards a game on the ground. Meanwhile, on the other side of the football, the Texans are mustering up just 16 points per contest. Now, injury-wise, McCray, Hewitt, Collins, and Arnold are questionable. Meanwhile, for New York, Galladay, James, Bredesen, and Flott are questionable. And when it comes to the weather mild and mostly sunny by kickoff in East Rutherford. Should be a nice day in the swamps of Jersey. Now, total-wise, the Giants saw overs against Green Bay and Dallas. Meanwhile, Houston went 4-2 to the over in their last 6. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the New York Football Giants -4.5, over 40. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. I like Atlanta -3, under 42.5. Seattle +3, over 44. And one last reminder here, guys, we are hitting at 61% our last 33 NFL tier package bets on my website. I like Detroit +3, over 48. Jacksonville +9.5, over 50. New Orleans -2, over 40.5. Cleveland +3, over 48. Buffalo -3, under 43. Denver +3, under 38. And with my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward the New York Giants -4.5, over 40.